Good evening, dear friend. As the day draws to its gentle close, let us find a quiet moment together, a soft space where time moves slowly and the world feels safe and still. Tonight, I invite you to journey with me to a distant, beautiful place, a secret garden tucked away in the ancient Medina of Marrakesh, where the air is warm with spice and starlight, and where every breath brings deeper peace. Let the day's concerns drift away like morning mist. You are safe here, in this story, in this moment. Allow yourself to be carried by the gentle current of these words, deeper into rest, deeper into peace. The evening light in Marrakesh falls like honey through amber glass, thick and golden, touching everything with warmth. Amira steps through the heavy wooden door of the riad, her grandmother's old house, and enters the courtyard that has waited patiently for her return. The sound of her soft leather slippers whispers against the mosaic tiles, each step an echo of countless others, her grandmother's steps, her great-grandmother's steps, generations of women who found solace in this same enclosed garden. The courtyard breathes with the day's stored warmth. Ancient terracotta tiles, worn smooth by time and weather, still hold the sun's kiss even as shadows begin to lengthen. At the garden's heart sits a fountain carved from white marble, its surface aged to the color of cream. Water falls in a gentle, continuous rhythm, not the rush of a waterfall, but the patient murmur of a stream finding its way home. Each droplet catches the fading light before joining the pool below, creating endless circles that spread and fade, spread and fade, like the gentle waves of sleep. Amira moves slowly, without purpose or urgency. There is nowhere to hurry to, no schedule to keep. The garden accepts her presence the way earth accepts rain naturally, gratefully. She breathes deeply, and the air fills her lungs with the perfume of this ancient place, the green scent of orange leaves, the dusty sweetness of jasmine beginning to open, the mineral coolness of water on stone. The walls that surround this sanctuary rise high and weathered, built of clay that has turned the color of desert sunset. They are covered with climbing vines, morning glory that has closed its blue trumpets for the day, and night-blooming jasmine that stirs with anticipation for the coming darkness. These walls hold more than earth and mortar. They hold silence, peace, the accumulated quiet of centuries. Above, the sky deepens from gold to rose to deep purple, like silk scarves laid one upon another. The first stars appear, distant and soft. Not yet the sharp diamonds they will become in full darkness, but gentle points of light that seem to pulse with their own peaceful rhythm. There is no rush to night. Here darkness comes slowly, kindly, like a grandmother's hand stroking hair away from a sleepy child's forehead. In one corner of the courtyard grows an orange tree, ancient and generous, its branches heavy with fruit that glows like lanterns in the dimming light. Amira walks toward it, drawn by some memory she cannot quite name. Perhaps her grandmother's voice telling her about the tree's magic, or perhaps simply the way its leaves rustle with secrets in the evening breeze. The tree's trunk is thick and gnarled, its bark rough under her palm as she rests her hand against it. She can feel its slow, deep pulse, the patient circulation of sap, the quiet work of roots reaching deep into the earth below the tiles. This tree has weathered countless seasons, countless changes, countless people who have found shelter in its shade. Its presence is solid, comforting, like the steady breathing of someone you love sleeping beside you. Beneath the tree, a small iron bench waits, its metal still warm from the day's sun. Amira settles onto it, and the slight creak of the metal is music in the growing quiet. From here, she can see the entire garden spread before her like a living painting. The fountain continues its gentle conversation with itself, the water speaking in liquid syllables that need no translation. The sound mingles with the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds settling for the night, the whisper of wind through the jasmine vines. As she sits, the air around her begins to change. The jasmine, sensing night's approach, starts to release its perfume not all at once, but gradually, like a secret being slowly shared. The scent drifts on air currents, so gentle they can barely be felt, weaving around her like invisible silk scarves. It is the perfume of dreams, of night-blooming hopes, of wishes whispered to stars. The orange blossoms, though long faded, seem to contribute their own ghost scent to the evening air, the memory of spring sweetness, the echo of bees' busy songs, the promise that life continues its patient cycles of death and renewal. Everything here speaks of continuity, of the slow, sure rhythms that govern the deep currents of existence. As the sky deepens, small lanterns begin to glow throughout the garden. They hang from branches and wall niches like fireflies that have chosen to stay still. Each lantern is unique. Some are pierced metal that throws intricate patterns of light and shadow on the walls. Others are colored glass that tints their glow amber or blue or soft green. Their light is warm and gentle, never harsh, never demanding attention, simply offering illumination to guide the way. The shadows these lanterns cast are soft-edged and friendly. They dance gently as the flames flicker, creating a subtle movement that is soothing to watch. The patterns shift and flow like water, like memories, like the gentle movements of sleep. There is something hypnotic about these moving shadows, the way they transform the familiar corners of the garden into something magical, dreamlike. Amira watches them with the relaxed attention of someone who has nowhere else to be. Her breathing has synchronized with the rhythm of the fountain, slow and steady. Her heartbeat has found the same patient tempo. She is becoming part of the garden's evening song, adding her own quiet presence to its ancient peace. The metal of the lanterns is old and patinated, shaped by craftsmen whose names are lost to time, but whose skill lives on in every curve and cutout. Some lanterns bear Arabic calligraphy that flows like frozen music. Others display geometric patterns that seem to contain the mathematics of beauty itself. Each one is a meditation, a prayer made visible in metal and light. Between the lanterns, the darkness is not empty, but full of the rich scents of earth and growing things, full of the soft sounds of night settling over the Medina, full of the presence of all the other people who have sat in gardens like this one, finding peace at the end of their days. This is not the stark darkness of isolation, but the gentle darkness of being held, surrounded, embraced by something larger and more lasting than any single worry or fear. As full darkness approaches, the jasmine begins its nightly transformation. All day, the small white buds have remained tightly closed, waiting for this moment. Now, as if responding to some silent signal, they begin to open. It happens slowly, each bud unfurling at its own pace, releasing its perfume like prayers released into the night air. Amira can almost see it happening. This gentle blossoming. The scent grows stronger, but never overwhelming, drifting through the garden in soft waves. It is the smell of peace, of dreams taking wing, of all the hopes that bloom in darkness. The perfume settles around her like a blanket made of night air and starlight, comforting and soft. Other flowers contribute their own quiet voices to the evening's symphony. Orange blossoms from seasons past seem to echo in the air, and the green scent of mint growing wild in clay pots mingles with the jasmine. Somewhere, perhaps beyond the garden walls, there is the ghost of rose petals drying in the night air, the memory of lavender carried on breezes from distant hills. The combination of scents is like a lullaby made for the sense of smell, complex but soothing, familiar yet mysterious. It speaks of home and safety, of gardens tended by loving hands, of the slow, sure rhythms of the natural world that continue regardless of human worry or haste. This is the perfume of deep peace, of the kind of rest that heals not just the body, but the soul. Amira breathes it in slowly, letting it fill her completely. With each breath, she feels herself becoming more and more part of this ancient rhythm, this nightly ceremony of blossoming and rest. The jasmine does not ask anything of her, not attention, not gratitude, not even awareness. It simply gives its gift freely, as generously as the stars give their light, as naturally as the fountain gives its music. The sound of water has been constant throughout the evening, but now, in the deeper quiet of night, it seems to take on new dimensions. Each drop that falls creates its own small note in the fountain's endless song. The water speaks in liquid syllables, a language older than words, more fundamental than thought. Amira closes her eyes and lets the sound fill her awareness. It is the sound of patience, of persistence, of water finding its way through stone with gentle determination. There is no urgency in it, no demand for attention. It simply continues, as it has for decades, as it will for decades to come, a steady, reliable presence that asks nothing but gives everything. The water in the basin reflects the lantern light in broken, shimmering pieces. Each ripple catches light and releases it, creating a constant, gentle play of illumination that never repeats exactly, but follows patterns as old as physics itself. It is mesmerizing in the most peaceful way, not demanding focus, but simply offering something beautiful to rest the eyes upon. The fountain's edges are worn smooth by countless hands that have touched them, countless children who have played here, countless adults who have found peace in its presence. The marble has warmed and cooled through 10,000 days and nights, has felt rain and sunshine, has been home to birds who come to drink and flowers that lean close to taste its coolness. There is something deeply comforting about this continuity, this sense of being part of something larger and more lasting than any individual moment of worry or sadness. The fountain has seen other people struggle with their concerns, has offered its quiet comfort to countless troubled hearts, and will continue long after today's worries have been forgotten. In its steady presence, Amira feels held, supported, reminded that she too is part of this larger rhythm of existence. As the evening deepens, memories begin to drift through Amira's awareness, like the jasmine perfume, gentle, unbidden, welcome. She remembers her grandmother's voice telling stories in this same courtyard, speaking in the mixture of Arabic and French that was her natural tongue. The old woman's words seemed to carry the same rhythm as the fountain, the same patient cadence as the night-blooming flowers. These are not sharp memories that demand attention, but soft ones that arrive like gifts. She remembers the taste of mint tea sweetened with sugar, served in small glasses that caught the lantern light. She remembers the sound of her grandmother's laughter, warm and generous, and the way the old woman's hands moved as she spoke, painting pictures in the air with graceful gestures. The courtyard holds these memories easily, the way old places hold the essence of all who have lived in them. There is no sadness in remembering here, only the gentle pleasure of connection across time. Her grandmother's presence seems to linger in the air like perfume, not as something lost, but as something that continues, transformed, but not gone. Other memories surface and fade like ripples on the fountain's surface. Childhood summers, the smell of bread baking, the sound of prayer calls drifting over the Medina walls. Each memory is like a small gift, offered without obligation, present for a moment, and then dissolving back into the peaceful flow of evening consciousness. The garden accepts all of it, memory and dream, past and present, sorrow and joy. It makes no judgments, offers no solutions, simply provides space for whatever arises to exist peacefully. This is the gift of such places. They hold space for the full complexity of human experience while remaining fundamentally peaceful, fundamentally safe. The riad's walls rise around the courtyard like gentle guardians, their clay surfaces softened by age and weather into something that seems almost organic. They are punctuated by arched doorways and windows that frame glimpses of inner rooms where lantern light glows softly through carved wooden screens. Each opening is like a poem written in architecture, purposeful but graceful, functional but beautiful. The tiles beneath Amira's feet tell their own stories in geometric patterns that repeat and vary like visual music. These designs have been walked on by centuries of feet, swept clean by countless hands, blessed by the daily rituals of life lived slowly and with attention to beauty. Each tile was formed by hands that knew their craft, fired in kilns that have long since turned to dust, set in place by builders whose names are forgotten, but whose skill lives on. Above, the walls meet the sky in gentle curves and straight lines that create a perfect frame for the stars. The architecture does not compete with the natural world, but enhances it, creating a space where human creativity and natural beauty complement each other perfectly. This is building as meditation, construction as prayer, the physical world shaped by hands that understood peace. The proportions of the space create a natural sense of harmony. The courtyard is neither too large nor too small. The walls neither too high nor too low. Everything is scaled to human needs for both shelter and openness, privacy and connection with the sky. Standing here, Amira feels neither dwarfed nor exposed, but perfectly held in a space designed for human flourishing. The aged surfaces of the walls hold the day's warmth and release it slowly as the night cools, creating gentle air currents that carry the garden's perfumes in slow, peaceful circulation. Even the physics of the space seems designed for comfort, for the kind of deep relaxation that allows the soul to rest as well as the body. As the night reaches its full depth, the sky above the courtyard becomes a river of stars. Here, away from the harsh lights of modern cities, the ancient patterns shine clearly, the same constellations that have guided travelers and comforted the sleepless for millennia. They pulse gently in the clear air, like distant lighthouses marking safe harbors in the sea of night. Amira lies back on a cushioned bench that has appeared as if by magic, or perhaps was always there, waiting for someone who needed its comfort. The fabric is soft and worn, warmed by her body and scented faintly with the lavender that was stored with it during the bright months. Above her, the stars wheel slowly in their ancient dance, patient and reliable as the fountain's song. The silence now is not empty, but full of the garden's gentle breathing, the soft conversation of water with stone, the whispered secrets of night-blooming flowers. It is the silence of deep peace, of consciousness settling into the rhythm of rest, of awareness expanding to match the vastness of the star-filled sky. Each star seems to pulse with its own gentle light, and Amira finds herself breathing in rhythm with their twinkling. Her heartbeat slows to match the deeper rhythms of the night, the ancient pulse that connects all living things in the web of existence. She feels herself becoming part of something larger, not losing herself, but expanding to include more than just her individual concerns and worries. The air around her is perfectly still now, warmed by the garden's retained heat and perfumed by jasmine that continues its generous blooming. Each breath brings deeper peace, deeper relaxation, a more complete letting go of the day's accumulated tensions and concerns. The night sky holds infinite space for all worries to dissolve into their proper perspective, small and temporary, against the backdrop of eternity. As the hours pass, though time has become fluid here, measured not by clocks, but by the gentle progression of scents and shadows, the garden begins to sing its nighttime lullaby. It is not a song that can be heard with the ears alone, but one that requires the whole being to perceive a symphony composed of water music and leaf whispers, of perfume and starlight, of warmth retained in stone and coolness rising from earth. The jasmine reaches the peak of its nightly performance now, each flower offering its full gift to the darkness. The scent is so rich it seems almost visible, like moonbeams made of perfume, like prayers given substance in the night air. It speaks of rest and dreams, of the healing that happens when consciousness softens and the soul is allowed to wander freely through the landscape of peace. Other elements of the garden add their voices to this gentle symphony. The orange tree rustles its leaves in a breeze so soft it can barely be felt, contributing the sound of life, continuing its patient work even in sleep. The fountain maintains its steady rhythm, marking time not with urgency, but with the reliable comfort of natural processes that need no human intervention to continue their essential work. The lanterns burn steadily, their flames protected by glass and metal from any disturbance. Their light creates moving patterns on the walls that shift and dance like visual music, never harsh or demanding, always soothing to follow with half-closed eyes. The shadows they cast are friendly companions in the darkness, familiar shapes that seem to pulse gently with their own peaceful rhythm. All of these elements weave together into something that transcends their individual beauty, a complete environment of peace that encompasses sight and sound, smell and touch, even taste, as the night air carries hints of mint and citrus on every breath. It is the physical world transformed into a lullaby, matter arranged according to the deep grammar of rest and restoration. As the night reaches its deepest point, even the gentle activities of evening begin to slow and quiet. The jasmine, having shared its full gift of perfume, settles into the satisfied quiet of work well done. The fountain continues its patient song, but even it seems to soften, as if speaking more quietly to avoid disturbing those who have found their way to sleep. Amira has become completely still now, her breathing so slow and regular it seems part of the garden's own rhythm. Her body has released all its tensions into the warm stone and soft cushions. Her mind has let go of the day's concerns and tomorrow's possibilities. She exists now in the perfect present moment, held by the garden's embrace, surrounded by beauty that asks nothing of her but to receive its gifts. The stars above continue their ancient rotation, marking the passage of hours without urgency or haste. Their light falls softly on the enclosed garden like a blessing, illuminating the peaceful scene with radiance that has traveled unimaginable distances to arrive at this perfect moment of rest. Each star is a reminder of the vastness that surrounds all human concerns, the infinite space in which all worries dissolve into their proper proportion. The walls of the courtyard seem to breathe gently in the starlight, expanding and contracting almost imperceptibly with the slight changes in temperature as the night air flows through the space. They hold their vigil faithfully, protecting this sanctuary of peace from any disturbance, creating a bubble of silence and safety in which the deepest rest becomes possible. Even the city beyond the walls has settled into its own rhythm of sleep. The distant sounds of the Medina doors closing, voices saying goodnight, the last footsteps on ancient cobblestones fade into the general quiet that blankets all human settlements in the deep hours of night. The garden has become an island of perfect peace in the sea of sleeping world, in the space between waking and sleeping, where consciousness becomes fluid and boundaries dissolve. Amira begins to dream the garden's dreams. She sees centuries of nights like this one, countless people who have found peace in this same space. generations of jasmine flowers that have offered their perfume to the darkness. She dreams of her grandmother as a young woman, sitting in this same courtyard with her own grandmother, learning the quiet arts of patience and peace. She sees the fountain as it was when newly carved, its marble white as snow, its water sparkling with the clarity of mountain springs. She witnesses the orange tree as a sapling, carefully planted and tended by hands that understood the gift they were giving to future generations. These are not the sharp, narrative dreams of ordinary sleep, but the gentle, flowing dreams that come when consciousness has settled into the deeper rhythms of rest. They drift through awareness like the jasmine perfume, present for a moment, and then dissolving into the general peace that encompasses all specific thoughts and images. The garden itself seems to dream alongside her, its consciousness slow and vast and patient. It dreams of all the seasons it has witnessed, all the storms it has weathered, all the moments of joy and sorrow it has held in its gentle embrace. Its dreams are measured in decades and centuries rather than minutes and hours, but they include this single night, this single moment of perfect peace. In this shared dreaming, the boundaries between self and garden, between individual consciousness and the larger awareness that encompasses all living things, become permeable. Amira feels herself expanding to include the fountain's patient music, the jasmine's generous perfume, the star's ancient light. She becomes part of the garden's eternal meditation on peace, its endless prayer of beauty offered freely to all who enter its sacred space. As the deepest hours of night embrace the garden, something shifts in the quality of the peace that fills the space. It becomes more than just the absence of disturbance. It becomes an active presence, a healing force that works on levels deeper than consciousness can follow. This is the peace that restores not just the body, but the soul, that mends not just fatigue, but the small tears that daily life creates in the fabric of being. The garden continues its patient work of restoration. The stone walls hold the warmth of the day and release it slowly, creating gentle currents of air that carry healing along with perfume. The water in the fountain continues its ancient circulation, cleaning and renewing itself moment by moment, offering a model of the natural processes of restoration that govern all healthy systems. The jasmine, having shared its gifts with the night, begins the subtle process of preparing for tomorrow's sleep, drawing nutrients from the earth through its roots, storing energy in its stems and leaves for the next cycle of blooming. Even in rest, it teaches the lesson of patient preparation, of trust in the cycles that govern all living things. Above, the stars continue their majestic rotation, marking the passage of time on scales so vast that human concerns naturally fall into their proper perspective. Their light has traveled for years or centuries to reach this moment, this garden, this perfect peace, a reminder that some gifts require patience to receive, that the most beautiful things often come to us from distances we cannot imagine. In this deepest rest, Amira's breathing becomes so slow and regular, it seems to merge with the garden's own rhythm. Her heartbeat finds the same patient tempo as the fountain's drops, the same measured pace as the jasmine's blooming. She has become part of the garden's meditation, her individual consciousness blending into the larger awareness that encompasses all peaceful places. As the night deepens toward its ultimate stillness, the garden reveals its deepest secret, that it exists not just in this courtyard in Marrakesh, but everywhere that peace is cultivated, everywhere that beauty is tended with patient hands and gentle hearts. It is the universal garden that lives within every space where human consciousness touches the natural world with love and reverence. This realization comes not as a thought, but as a feeling, a sense of connection that extends far beyond the walls of clay and stone. The garden exists in every place where water is allowed to sing its patient song, where flowers are encouraged to share their gifts freely, where the night sky is welcomed as a blessing rather than feared as emptiness. It lives in the memory of everyone who has ever found peace in such a space, who has ever sat quietly while jasmine bloomed in darkness, who has ever felt their individual concerns dissolve into the larger patterns that govern stars and seasons. The garden is both this specific place and every place where its spirit is honored, both this single night and every night when consciousness settles into the rhythm of deep rest. Amira understands now why she was drawn back to this place, why her grandmother's stories called to her across the years and miles. It was not just to find this particular garden, but to remember the garden that exists within her own consciousness, the space where peace is always available, where beauty always blooms, where the fountain of renewal never stops its gentle song. The walls that seemed to enclose this sanctuary now reveal themselves as doorways, leading not outward, but inward, to the infinite garden that exists wherever awareness touches the world with gratitude and wonder. The peace she has found here is not something external to be visited occasionally, but something essential to be carried always, like perfume that clings to clothes long after the flowers that created it have faded. Though dawn is still hours away, its promise already lives in the garden's consciousness, not as an ending to this perfect peace, but as its natural continuation in a different key. The jasmine will close its flowers with the same generosity with which it opened them, offering its rest as freely as it offered its perfume. The fountain will continue its patient song, welcoming the light as peacefully as it welcomed the darkness. The orange tree will stand ready to offer its shade when the sun returns, its roots drawing sustenance from the same earth that now holds the night's coolness. The lanterns will dim their flames, not because their light is no longer needed, but because they trust the sun to take up their work of illumination. Everything in the garden participates in the great rhythm of giving and receiving, of rest and activity, of darkness and light. This understanding brings a deeper peace than any temporary escape from the world's demands could provide. It is the peace that comes from knowing one's place in the larger patterns, from trusting the wisdom that governs cycles too vast for individual comprehension. The garden teaches not withdrawal from life, but deeper participation in its essential rhythms. As Amira rests in this perfect stillness, she carries within her consciousness the promise that this peace is not fragile or temporary, but as lasting as the stars that wheel overhead, as reliable as the water that finds its way to the sea. She will carry the garden's gifts back into the world of activity and concern, but she will never again be without its sanctuary, because she now knows that the deepest garden exists within consciousness itself. The night continues its patient work of restoration, healing, and renewal. The jasmine continues its generous offering of perfume to any who are present to receive it. The fountain continues its ancient meditation on patience and persistence. The stars continue their majestic dance of light in the infinite darkness. And in the perfect present moment, all is exactly as it should be. As consciousness settles into the deepest layers of rest, the garden offers its final gift, not words or images, but a blessing that exists below the level of thought, in the very rhythm of breath and heartbeat, in the gentle circulation of blood, and the quiet electrical dance of the nervous system, finding its natural state of peace. This blessing asks nothing and promises everything, the promise that peace is always available, that beauty always waits to be noticed, that the natural world offers its gifts freely to any consciousness willing to receive them with gratitude and wonder. It is the blessing of belonging, of being held in the vast embrace of existence, of never being truly alone as long as stars shine and water flows and flowers bloom in darkness. The garden's peace settles over consciousness, like a blanket woven from moonlight and jasmine perfume, from the sound of water finding its way home, and the silent patience of stones that have watched over this sanctuary for centuries. It is the peace that heals without words, that teaches without instruction, that loves without condition or limit. In this final deepening, individual awareness becomes like a single note in a vast symphony of peace, not lost or diminished, but perfectly placed in a harmony too large and beautiful for any single consciousness to comprehend completely. The garden holds space for this mystery, this perfect belonging that requires no understanding, only the willingness to rest in its embrace. And so, the night continues its ancient work. The garden continues its patient blessing, and consciousness settles ever deeper into the rhythm of perfect rest, surrounded by beauty, held by peace, blessed by the eternal garden that exists wherever love meets the world with open hands and grateful heart. The jasmine blooms in darkness. The fountain sings its patient song. The stars wheel overhead in their ancient dance. And in the perfect present moment, all is well, all is peaceful, all is exactly as it should be. Sleep well, dear friend. The garden holds you in its peace.